What's going on, traders? It's Ricky with TechBet Solutions. So just in the recap on today's trading, I do want to give a shout out to all the members within TechBet Solutions that participated in our group chat today. So I do want to give a shout out to Justin Swift, bringing in a little bit or at near 5% growth within his account today. He's seen nearly 200% growth since he started trading with us, so definitely a good guy to look out for. And then there was one of our new members that brought in $80 worth of profit with her $1,000 account, so a little bit over 5% profit. So huge shout out to you. Let's go ahead and get right into it. So like we start off always, we talk in the group chat. That's the pre-market movers, and within that group chat we talk about in a sense pre-market movers. So what's kind of moving, and if you guys see this gray area, this is pre-market. So this first half is aftermarket for Friday, and then today's Monday. So this is the first half, and then this is pre-market, and then this is when market opens. So I'm going to be talking about 4 different stocks that we were looking at today that I was personally looking at. I traded 2 of them, and then I just want to give my opinion on the other 2. So JNUG, we did shot this one out with a support at 623. Right as it opened, it shot up, broke the resistance that it originally had at 650, popped right through, hit highs of $7. Not only did it hit that high of $7 once, came back down. People were asking me where was it most likely going to bounce, and like we know, old resistance points become new support points. And obvious, as soon as it broke the $6.60 mark, it popped right up, meaning that that was a strong resistance. So as we know, old resistance become new support. So I shouted out the support being around 660. They were asking me if I was going in. I couldn't go into JNUG because I was maxed out with what I allow myself to trade with on DRYS, NUGT, and FNCX. But again, this whole point of this whole group is to share best practices and to learn from that. So I shutted out the support at 660. It bounced just right there as well, and again, it's just based on looking on previous trends. So I identified the support. I knew the resistance was going to be around the same price point, the $7 that it hit before. It did go a little bit over, came back down and held pretty well above. So it is showing upward momentum, right, for JNUG. And that's amazing. NUGT, being a gold-based company as well, did that same thing as well. So for those that were able to benefit from my trade, that's the whole point of this group. But again, it's creating a game plan every single time you guys trade. So it's identifying the resistance and the support and being like, okay, well, I can get in at 660, write it up to $7, and follow with the trailing stop loss. But all of a sudden, if it takes a dip, based on me understanding that this is a support, I can cut my losses anything below 660 and jump back in and try to get in at 623, as that's the new support. So again, it's about creating a game plan, making yourself feel comfortable when it comes to understanding what you are investing in, and then executing, making sure that you stick to your plan and don't break any of your rules, right? So that's my analysis on JNUG. AUPH was definitely one that has been getting a lot of hype within the past couple of days because of this huge upward trend that it's seen, coming from $4, seeing over 100% growth within 10 days. But today was just a fact to prove that every stock is not always going to continue to increase, especially these smaller cap stocks. So it hit its resistance at $10.50, and what I'm guessing is that there was a huge seller that ended up selling the majority of his shares and then righted the price all the way down. So what this can be is almost like a pump and dump, right? Although it did go for a series of days, there's buyers that can own a huge amount of the company, and as they start to sell off their shares, then that drives the price down because that demand isn't there anymore. So it broke the support that it previously had at 891 and is now continuing to break below that support. So that's the biggest thing. Although you guys might be in the green, don't get greedy, lock in your profits, and that's why I want to talk about AUPH. It's all about always having a plan. Getting in at 890, if it breaks that resistance, that's not a bad idea. Identifying, where it could break, where's the resistance, right? It seemed to identify the resistance at 1049, but you're never really going to know that. So what you can do is follow with the trailing stop loss and use these indicators to identify where they're crossing. So as they get closer, maybe that can give you, a little bit more of an indication that maybe I should start selling a little bit of that off. And then, have a stop loss. You can follow, 5% or 5 cents less than whatever the market price is going with your stop loss to make sure you lock in your profits as the stock continues to rise. So it's just different tools and different techniques that you can use to ensure you're trading successfully and to lock in your profits. So that's all I would suggest, not just with AUPH, but with any stock that you're approaching or choosing to invest in. Just always have a plan and have kind of this stop loss or mentality on locking in your profits and not being greedy. So for my trade on NUGT, I shouted this one out right away during pre-market hours on Friday. We did very well since it broke from the lows of 723 to highs of the 810, or well above the 810. Held above $8, and that's what I wanted to see. Hit a resistance during pre-market hours at 840 and its support at $8. So what I knew for this upcoming day is that I knew the support and I knew the resistance. I identified that during pre-market movers and I shared it with everyone. So I didn't get in at the lowest point because in reality I don't care about that. I care about making sure that I'm catching NUGT on the ride up, because for me it means more to ride it up for a couple cents than to get in at the lowest possible point and end up stop lossing out, because if it breaks below this $8 mark, then you're going to see it bleed all the way back down. So what my plan was to see this EMA line for the candlesticks to cross above it, and it did just that. Right when it hit that 815 mark, it did that. I ended up putting in my order. I ended up getting filled at 816, and then I saw it hit nearly that same resistance. I didn't sell the first time, although I was able to identify the previous resistance at 840. I came back down, and then I ended up selling the second time for a total of, for my trade on NUGT, my first trade was at $85 with a profit. Came back down. Where was it going to bounce? It ended up bouncing at 805. I got in at 810 or 810, and averaged out to 808, and then I rode it up. A bunch of buyers or a bunch of members jumped in with me. And we set up a plan. We knew where the support was, we knew the resistance was, and during aftermarket hours, since we have Robinhood Gold, we can still end up selling if we want to. It has hit highs of 835, and I have a stop loss at 834. So my order should fill anytime, and then with that, I should bring in anything around like $110 to $115 worth of profit with that single trade. And again, it's just, I traded NUGT twice because I knew clearly where the support and the resistance was, and I created a game plan. And it's not just once that I jumped into it. I can do it multiple times as long as I, stay according to my plan. And then the last one that I'm going to be talking about is DRYS. DRYS, I don't like to jump into it during, open, because there's a lot of volume and I really don't know how to identify the support and the resistance as soon as it breaks. I was able to identify during pre-market hours that there was a support at 172 and a resistance at 180. Once it broke that resistance right as the market opened, hit highs of 195 and then came back down. So now it's all about identifying, what's a good buy point. I was thinking about getting in at 180 and then I saw it break below it. So I knew probably it's going to come back down to this 170, 172 mark. And it did just that. So I sent out the alert at 172, ended up getting filled at 173, and ended up selling at 179. With DRYS, I'm a little bit more scared because of how risky it can be and how volatile it can be. Therefore, I was following with the trailing stop loss. It hit 179. And 178, it was trading between that area, and I just put my stop loss as it hit 180 at 179 and then got filled. With that trade alone, I brought in $105 worth of profit, and that was my trade with DRYS. There's a couple other members that were able to ride it a little bit more to get a little bit more of a squeeze out of DRYS, but again, I wasn't too worried. I just wanted to get in at a good buy point and a good sell point, and it's all about identifying the support and the resistance, identifying that upward momentum, and sticking to your plan, not getting greedy, right? Following with a trailing stop loss. That's just something that's led to my success, so I'm just sharing it with you guys in effort to help you guys out as well. So that is pretty much the breakdown on my trades today. I do want to give a shout out again. Thank you guys all so much for all the support and all you guys doing what it is that you guys do best, and that's helping one another out and being successful when it comes to trading. So I will be posting the link if you guys want to join the TechBud Solutions group chat platform. This is the Facebook platform. The link is provided for you down below. It's a free group you can join. And then within this platform, there's these series of links that you can actually click on. Depending on what type of trader you are, you can join all of them or just a selected amount depending on what market you're trying to get into, right? And then if you guys can, we'd appreciate the like and the subscribe on the video if you guys found this video helpful. And there is a series of helpful video playlists on my channel that can help you get a better understanding on how to invest and trade in penny stocks. Thank you guys again for the support. I hope you guys have an amazing week, and let's make sure that we end the week on a green note. Take care, guys. Baby, don't you let it go to waste.